美国时事通，我是罗文。
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
What are your personal opinions on President Trump's recent announcement that he plans to deconstruct the current Department of Education and give the power back to the states? And what can you say to potential people with families or people with children? What can you say to comfort them about this specific, at a loss for a word, announcement that he's made?
Well, in answer to your first question, what would I say? I guess I would say, zippity-doo-dah, zippity, my, oh my, what a wonderful day. That'd be the first thing I would say. And what would I say to the parents who are concerned? I would say, plenty of sunshine heading your way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. That's what I would say. The Department of Education has been a complete failure. It's not only been a huge waste of taxpayer money, but it's one charge, which is to make students smarter and better educated. It's completely failed at over its 40-plus years of existence. Test scores have gone down. So it's just a complete joke. It's really good at forcing local schools to adopt the latest LGBT craze or whatever, but it's not good at much else. So I say good riddance. Bye-bye, Department of Education. And I tell parents your kids are going to get a much better education as a result of it.
Technology, energy. One of the reasons why? Our work ethic. Nobody's born with that. You learn it from your family, your culture, and your school. It's in America's best interest to have a country full of educated people. So a century ago, the government decided every kid should legally be required to go to school. It helped form some of America's greatest generations. That's not what classrooms look like today. Kids are learning about sex instead of science, racism instead of reading, feminism instead of physics, hate instead of history. How'd this happen? Our schools have been sliding into mediocrity for years, and we see the results. A Virginia school board chairman is making waves after telling his students they don't have to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. He recently tweeted, "Attention PWCS students and staff, you are not required to stand for the national anthem or pledge. There will be no action taken against you for choosing to not stand or participate. Our president is a bona fide idiot, but you are safe in PWCS." Ryan Sawyers is chairman of the Prince William County School Board in Virginia, who is also running for Congress. He joins me now. Now, just so our audience knows, there's a law from a long time back that doesn't require public school students to stand. But then you went so far as to call the President of the United States an idiot. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that was the right thing to say to young students?
I think it's important that the students that have been sitting in our school district for years, long before this became a cultural thing, the Supreme Court ruling that you're talking about goes back to 1943. Right. And of course, the First Amendment goes back to 1791 when it was written. So, you know, it's important that those students know that I take a strong stance. If the president's willing to attack an NFL football player for kneeling, then they certainly, these students and these families who have been kneeling for religious reasons or any other reasons they see fit for years are concerned that, you know, someone may attack them for doing the same. And it's important to know that they have someone on their side.
Let me go back to what my initial question was. You're telling young students that the President of the United States is an idiot. Do you think that's an appropriate thing for you to say as someone from your position, the head of the school board? I
think it's an honest thing to say. And,
well, it's honest to you.
It is. No,
that's your personal opinion.
Absolutely. And it's my personal Twitter account. And so ultimately, I think anyone that doesn't like the language that I use has to kind of take the same steps that I did when John McCain was called not a war hero. I had to explain to my children that he was. Okay. So if they don't like my language, then they can certainly adjust and explain that to
So would it be okay if any school board president injected their own personal or partisan opinion into the classrooms or the student student body?
I think it's every citizen's right to speak their mind. I mean,
so if your successor came in and said, Trump's a genius, we should all make America great again, you wouldn't have a problem with that?
I think there's school board members that do that on a regular basis across the country.
Okay, so there's a lot of politics in the school that you're at, apparently, because it looks like you can say whatever you want to the students. And personally, I think, you give the students information and then let them make a decision. Don't inject your own partisan politics into it.
Well, we all have our own opinions on everything, and ultimately it's a private Twitter account that I use to communicate to not just students but to everyone.
Yeah, but you know your role as the county school board chairman is just more than your Twitter account. They're going to read it, it gets picked up, and you represent that job.
Look, there's nothing that I can do that the president hasn't already done. And to steal his line, this certainly isn't unprecedented.
Do you think you're disrespecting the office in front of these children, though? Because it's not just about Trump or Obama. It's the office. You're insulting the office. Is that a good example for the kids?
I don't think I'm insulting the office. I think ultimately...
You don't? By calling the President of the United States a bona fide idiot?
He's trying to create a culture war to distract from, obviously, a terrible tax plan. And ultimately, that leaves local officials like me making sure that our 90,000 students feel protected. So
other people think the President's just defending the flag.
Calling the President an idiot is certainly not nearly as harmful as challenging where he was born. Okay. So there's no way that a school board chairman can be... you can't convince me that a school board chairman can bully the President of the United States.
I didn't think you were. I'm giving you one last chance. Do you want to apologize for calling the President an idiot?
I'll apologize for the typo, but not calling the President an idiot. Absolutely not.
All right.
If you ask who are the customers of education, the customers are the parents. Not even the students, but the parents. The problem that we have in this country is that the customers went away. The customers stopped paying attention to their schools for the most part. That mothers started working, and they didn't have time to spend at PTA meetings and watching their kids' school. Schools became much more institutionalized, and parents spent less and less and less time involved in their kids' education. And what happens when a customer goes away and a monopoly gets control, which is what's happened in our country, is that the service level almost always goes down. I believe very strongly that if the country gave each parent a voucher, a check for $4,400 that they could only spend at any accredited school, that several things would happen. Number one, schools would start marketing themselves like crazy to parents to get students. Secondly, I think you'd see a lot of new schools starting. You would see the quality of schools, again, just like in a competitive market, start to rise. Some schools would go broke. A lot of the public schools would go broke. There's no question about it. It would be rather painful for the first several years.
Deservedly so.
But I think far less painful than the kids going through the system as it is right now.
And they're literally almost eliminating education in this country.
In recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. It's time to offer something dramatically different. Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments, and we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy. Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree. In addition, to help the 40 million Americans who have some college education but no degree, the American Academy will grant credit for past coursework at legacy institutions and give you the chance to complete your education at the American Academy for free and much more quickly than is now possible or available. This will be a revolution in higher education and will provide life-changing opportunities for tens of millions of our citizens. Enjoy it, learn from it, and thank you.